why God calls us to be here to make these good decisions. We need to give him his best. We need to bring that best. It needs to be game on at St. John's. It can't be, I'm just going to get by. You know, I'm not going to do the big load. We work really hard. Okay, let's work for quality too. Okay, so when somebody who spends a lot of time preparing for something, let's give that honor and really consider what it is. I know the biggest improvements I've had to make in my life are difficult. You know, that's why they call it a diet. You know, it's not easy, right? It's work, it's hard, right? When you go to work in the morning, you say, I'm going to have fun today. You go to work. That's what we're called to do. A little bit of history about the parish for you that are new to the vestry. You know where Hockey Town is? Everybody knows where Hockey Town is. You know where the Illiches wanted Hockey Town? Morley does. Remember that? I think you might have been in the vestry meeting. Father Kim invited a Thomas Illich to give our vestry a presentation in the Illich family. And this was in the late 1990s, mid-1990s. And they had these beautiful poster boards. And they brought it in here and they said, we'd like to build a nice restaurant right on the corner of Montcalm and Woodward, right south of your parish. And we're going to pay you $40,000 a year lease for that for 99 years. Isn't that a great deal for you? Father Kim at the time said, well, we got to do this. You know, how we can secure the financial future of this. And meanwhile, there was a YWCA building that they had just torn down. And the vestry was all really gnashing their teeth, and they were all, well, should we do this thing? Should we do this? It was $40,000 a year. That was a lot of money back then. Should we do it? And I stood up, and I wasn't the warden. I stood up at the time and I said, you know what? I just don't think Henry Porter Baldwin, the 21 guys that came together, put the railroad bonds down, really wanted us to have a bar on the corner. I said, furthermore, as a businessman, do you think 40 grand a year is really worth knocking out that corner? I think that's it, you know, and then they just tore down the YWCA. We had a feeling there was something going on. Illich hadn't announced American Park yet. And so why don't we just tell them to, you know, we'll take a pass on this deal. It was one of the best things we ever did. Because you know what? About 6 months later, they knocked down a building that was across the street and put up Hockey Town. Now, can you imagine if that parking lot revenue was 40 grand instead of what we have now? And we had a bar there, and we had to park on Illich's property. That would be all bad, as they say. It would be all bad. But that's a perfect example of vestry making a really good decision when there was pressure from some people in the vestry to make it the other way. So when we're making decisions, there are the short-term ones and the long-term ones. We have to really do a good job of making those decisions. And that's what I really want you to think about going forward when we're in those meetings, coming prepared. The other thing that I want to talk about is I sense that there's some backroom dealing going on. Okay? There was some politicking going on. And I actually asked Father Kelly for a copy of the roster of the parish before the election because I was going to call some people. I thought, you know what? No. If it's meant to be, I'll be elected. If it's not, I never called it. But I know that there was a lot of calling going on. And that's okay. That's great. But the point is, we now have a vestry that has been constituted because people wanted them there. And there was some politicking, and that's great. But the vestry has to come together and be expert now that we're this way. We have to come together. We have to stop all this backroom stuff. We have to. It's a tough deal. We have to. Because if we don't stop it, you know what? It's the devil. It's the devil working in there. We got to come together and be Christian about it. Everybody. It's a hard thing to say. We got to do it. Because we have to do it. Because I can tell you, we got about 3 years if we don't do it. It's a tough way to go. In closing, I want 2 thoughts. The leg of the financial relationship of the customer to the company. Our equivalent is our stewardship, our time, talent, and treasure. But there's one more really important aspect of that, and it's the way you feel. It's the way you feel about the rest of it, the other two legs of the triangle. The bottom line is when we come in this parish, if you don't feel that warmth, that love, that peace, you're not going to come here. People invest a lot of time in their volunteer effort for that feeling. They want to feel great. Cindy, you love serving. You want that feeling of serving. You don't want the feeling of the politics and all that stuff. You want the feeling of that serving. That's what we're here to do. And I love watching you serve. That's the feeling we want. And when we have disagreement and conflict, we take part of that away from the other person. You destroy that good feeling about their relationship with what we have here. And the difference is that we're all members of Christ. It's different than Lockheed Martin and Vertec or General Motors and Vertec. It's different. They can just terminate the contract and you're gone. But we're Christians. There is no termination of the contract. We've wronged someone. We've hurt somebody. Maybe not intentionally. Okay? Firing Joey, I think, was a bad deal in the long run for me. I could pay for it. But I was mad that he tried to block my thing. But we've got to come together on that feeling thing because, bottom line, we're in the hospitality business in a way. If you got a bad feeling about the hotel, you're not going to go back. If you got a bad feeling about St. John's, we're not going to go back. And maybe I'm making too big of a thing of this, but it's important because we don't ever have to talk about it again. It's important that we develop that feeling, that relationship with the parish, that we all get along. And then when we don't, we have to understand somebody's service is being compromised now. Someone's worked really hard to prepare that meal. Somebody's worked really hard to prepare the music. Somebody's worked really hard to clean the parish. Somebody's worked really hard on the financial statements. Somebody's worked really hard to bring a new parishioner into this parish. So that is one of the big things. The other thing is the gratitude thing. We have to live lives of gratitude. You know what? And I've been ungrateful. I'll start with myself. I've been ungrateful. I've been grateful for my family, but I haven't been grateful for some other things. And that's wrong. And so we got to develop the attitude of gratitude. We've got to do that. I've got to do that. It's got to start with me. Otherwise, we're never, ever going to get there. It's got to start with that grace, that gratitude. And so I'm going to pray that I have that. Now, we're going to have to call to action. We're going to call to action after Easter. The first thing that's going to happen is Father Kelly and I, we're going to start meeting with all the parishioners. Father Kelly is going to be the spiritual guide, as he should be. He is going to be worried about our spiritual health. He's going to start with his Vestry. That's really, really important that we get that standard, the bottom leg of that triangle strong. Then I will meet with the parishioners, and I'm going to ask Vestrymen to help to talk about our parish, the other two legs of the triangle. What can we do to do better? How can we make our church stronger? I'm going to ask for your help. We're going to get every parishioner that's in this area, we're going to meet with. I'm so invested in these customers. I've got to have those customers. Just as Lockheed Martin, my customers saved me when I was bankrupt, that is who our solution is. The Christ in all those customers. You know, I counted our directory today. You know how many people are in our directory, family names? We have 200. We have 200 customers. I've never had 200 customers in my life. You know? I think that's awesome. Father Kelly and I are going to do this, right? We're going to need your help. But first, Father Kelly's going to start with all of us. And I've already had my first meeting with him. He gave me a book, start reading. Okay. And he's going to meet with all of us. And then we're going to go out to the parish. The ushers are going to be very, very key for us. They're the first people that see the newcomer. Now, what we got to do with the ushers, I got some ushers here, you've got to know everybody's name. When you go into a first-class club, they say, Mr. Burke, it's nice to see you. Welcome to the world. When those parishioners come in, we've got to know their names. It's hard to do. We've got to know their names. I know, because some guys have been coming here 20 years ago know their name, right? Okay? Well, we've got to know their names. It's really, really important. The church women are so strong here. We're going to have to meet with them and figure out how we can support the newcomers there. But those ushers, that's going to be one of the initiatives afterwards. So that's really important. There's a bunch of other things we're going to do like that. But we're going to start with the bottom leg of the triangle. Father Kelly's going to lead us on that, and we're going to build the other two.